Okay, now we're recording. So yeah, so this is a fake background with that's why the sky has a window in it, but it brings up the question of what is real. On today's program, I was talking with Andreas Mueller, and I reminded him of a quote, or told him of a quote from the Nisargadatta Maharaj that he said. How do you know you were born? It's the most simple and obvious things that you should be questioning. People take for granted, what you take for granted, what seems obvious and beyond doubt or beyond question. That precisely is exactly what you should be questioning. That was his teaching. Um, he talked about how the I am consciousness arises and then gives birth to the universe, to all of manifestation, including you and your memories and experiences. Which reminds me of the latest theory in quantum physics is what they call the universe was created last Tuesday theory. And it's kind of tongue in cheek, but it also has a serious point to it, which is it's pointing out that there's, as far as we know, the universe could have been created last Tuesday. There's no law of physics or experiment or astronomical observation or logical reason for that would let us say with certainty that the universe was not created last Tuesday. So, people will say, well, I'm 40 years old, and I remember when I was a child, and that was obviously more than 10 days ago. So it can't be true that the universe was created last Tuesday. And then these physicists, these quantum physicists, would reply, no, the universe was created last Tuesday, and when it was created, that included you as a 40-year-old with 40 years worth of memories, including your memories as a child 40 years ago. So, as far as you know, the universe could have been created last Tuesday. And then people will say, well, we have astronomical observations. We look through the Hubble Space Telescope and we see galaxies billions of light years away traveling at incredible speeds, and we can do the math to determine how far from the Big Bang they are and how fast they're traveling, and then that tells us how long they've been traveling, and we know that many of them have been traveling for billions and billions of years, so that means that the universe has been around for at least billions and billions of years, not last Tuesday. And their reply is, last Tuesday, the universe came into being, and when it came into being with all of these galaxies where they needed to be relative to this point you're calling the Big Bang, the origin of the universe. And also at the same time came into being the laws of physics and the rules of mathematics that would give the result when the calculations are done that these galaxies have been traveling for billions of years. But all of that, the galaxies, where they are, the point of the Big Bang, the rules of physics and math, all of that came into being last Tuesday. And if it came into being last Tuesday, we could imagine that maybe it came into being yesterday, or maybe 15 minutes ago, or maybe 5 minutes ago, or maybe it comes into being every second as we continuously create and recreate the universe as a function of consciousness, because every second we are constantly choosing to remain separate from the one, from the beloved, from God. One can imagine a point before the universe was created, before anything existed, when there was only God. And when I say God, of course, I don't mean like some man with a long flowing beard sitting on a throne. But we could just think of it as sort of like oneness, the absolute, this primordial, pre-existent principle, which at first was all that existed. And so everywhere there was only God. And we tend to think that God must be huge, filling a whole universe. But remember, at this point in time, which is difficult to say because at time doesn't exist yet, and neither did space. So God could have been a tiny microscopic dot, or God could have been the size of 10 billion universes. There was no space, there was no time, so it's sort of a moot point to talk about the size of God, but simply God was all there was. And God was everywhere. There was nowhere where God was not. There was nowhere that existed other than God. And one way of looking at how consciousness arose is that God created the second, what in Christian terminology would be called the Christ consciousness, the second person of the Trinity. And a part of that Christ consciousness wanted to experience existence separate from God. Wondered, what? Okay, I'm a part of God. What would it be like if I was completely on my own, completely separate? And when that appeared to happen, it gave birth to consciousness, and the first thought of consciousness was I am. The English kind of hides it a little. I am is the first person present tense conjunction of the verb to be. I am, you are, he or she is. So I am really means I be, and be means to exist. And exist is from the Latin meaning to stand out from. Ex, to stand out from. So I am is saying I exist, is saying I stand out from what? From the one, from God, from wholeness, from the absolute. That's the first statement of the consciousness that wants to see itself as separate from the one, from God, from the absolute, from wholeness. That's how we entered into duality. So you talk about duality and non-duality. Non-duality just means not two. It means, and really it means not the 10,000 things, as Lapso says. The consciousness wanted to stand out, wanted to exist on its own. It wanted to be separate from God. It wanted to have its own separate existence and to be apart from God so that it could feel like it was it, well, it we don't really, well, it wanted to be separate from God. It wanted to see what it would be like to be on its own. And so immediately there arose a consciousness that was conscious of, I'm here and God is over there. Now there are two. And then there arose a consciousness that became conscious of itself. I'm here and I know that I'm here. I am now aware of myself. And so the first thought was, I am. And that separation into subject and object necessitated the creation of the universe of a million different things and a million different or billions of different people, so that everything becomes like a separate object. And what keeps that whole thing going is, in order for this consciousness to be separate from God, from the one absolute whole, in order to pull away, you can't really pull away from the whole. You can't actually go someplace where God is not, because God is everywhere. Or another way of saying it is that there's only one, there's only oneness, there's only the whole, and there is no place that you can go to be apart from the whole. So the only way that happens is in illusion, is in dreams, is in hallucination, is in a way we've created this false illusionary universe that appears to be filled with separate people and separate objects, to prove to ourselves that we have separated. And so how the consciousness does that separation is by a contraction of the energy field. And then, getting back to the idea that maybe the universe is recreated every 5 seconds or every 1 second, it's recreated every time that we choose to remain separate from God. And we're constantly choosing over and over and over again to really to lie to ourselves that we're separate from God, because we can't actually separate from God. We cannot go where God is not, because God is everywhere. We cannot be apart from oneness, because all there is oneness. But what we can do is, within, if you think of us as inside of this perfect whole, this perfect unity, this one God, and we are inside of that, but we want to make believe that we have separated from it, we can contract our energy field, which I liken that to, it's like we're inside of God, so we like turn around and close our eyes and pretend like we're not. And but and that gives rise to the illusion that we are no longer a part of the whole, but it's just that, it's an illusion. That separation never happened. We're just pretending that it did. And we contract our energy field to make that, to give us that, to give ourselves that illusion. And that you can think of it as a sort of primordial action of separation, where the second person of the Trinity contracts a part of its energy field in order to be separate from God, which then manifests through time, which then actually creates time and space. And then within that fictional time and space creates history, and creates 7 billion individual people, each with their own history and their own story. And within the lifetime of a particular individual, that contraction of the energy field can appear to take place during like childhood, at the age of 1 or 2, when the child realizes what is going on and what is expected of it if it wants to get along in the world that it's been born to. Many people have talked about how, like at 6 months and even 1 year of age, infants are, they don't really have a sense of separation. They are just one with everything, and they don't see everything as being separate from them. But at some point in their childhood, as they're growing older and interacting with mommy and daddy, they realize that this game of earth life requires me to become a separate person, separate from mommy, separate from daddy, separate from my crib and the dog across the room and the stuffed toy over there. And it's all separate objects, and I'm a separate person. And so I have to go along with this way of perceiving. And so they contract their energy field at that time. But that, is that really happening? Or is it simply this one primordial instance of contraction that gets, like, shoots through time and space like a ripple in a pond and shows up as Ray's 2-year-old self contracting into separation from mommy so that I can go along with the game, and showing up as a Chinese peasant in the 16th century contracting in his childhood to go along with the game, and shows up as a universe of separate objects being sparked into existence in order to confirm, in order to carry out our instructions that we are separate and that the universe is a universe of separate things and separate objects and separate entities. And that sense of separation, because on some level we remember what it was like to be a part of the whole, that sense of separation is a sense of lack and not being fulfilled, not the feeling that something is wrong, a sense that there is something fundamentally off, not quite right about the way things are. Because we're contracting ourselves to put up a fence around ourselves that will keep us separate from, ultimately, God, the absolute, the one, the totality. We aren't really separate. We are a part of the whole. We are one with all that is. But we want to be our own separate entity. So we contract our energy field. It's basically, we create a density in our energy around ourselves so that it's like we're putting up a fence around ourselves, and that fence keeps the outside out and the inside in. Everything inside the fence is me. Everything outside the fence is not me. So I can convince myself that I am separate, that I am my own separate entity, that I exist, that I stand out from the whole and have my own separate existence, so that it feels like I have my own separate existence because I have put this fence of contracted energy around myself to keep everything else out, and I'm inside. But that means that I am alone. It is me against the entire universe, me against God, me against 7 billion people, me against a universe that seems to be alien and overwhelming and not particularly concerned about whether I live or die. And that generates fear, and fear generates conflict because the fearful, separated individual begins to perceive everything as a potential threat. And it, so you have a person who feels like they're totally on their own, completely cut off from God, completely cut off from life, living in a universe where everything dies, every eventually all life forms die eventually, and even skyscrapers and mountains eventually cease to exist, which is where the concept of impermanence comes from. So there's no um, sense of lasting existence. And because we have a faint memory of what it was like when we were one with the absolute, one with God, one with wholeness, where there was no death, there was only life, there was no time, past, present, and future. There was only an eternal now. There was no fear, there was only love. So we know that we have fallen. We can feel it in our bones that we have gone from a better place to a place that's not as good. And so there's a desire to get back to that better place. But the really interesting thing is that actually we have not fallen. Actually, we are still in heaven. The Course in Miracles puts it like this: the Son of Man, the Son of God is asleep in heaven, dreaming of exile. And like I said, um, we turned around and put our hands over our eyes in order to have the experience of being out of the whole, apart from God, apart from the oneness, apart from the absolute, out of heaven, out of paradise. So we're in paradise, but we've got our hands over our eyes and we're pretending not to be. So that's what's interesting about it. We are suffering because we have our hands over our eyes and we're pretending not to be in paradise. And, and so we have a faint, deep subconscious memory of how it used to be. And so that causes us to feel that where we are now isn't as good. And it's a sense of lack, a sense of unfulfillment, a sense of things are not quite right. Things, no matter how good it gets, it's here on earth. It's never quite right. You know, even if everything works out great, it never lasts. And even if it, and actually, as soon as things work out great, people start worrying, this isn't going to last. Eventually, this is going to change. So every accomplishment or acquisition of something which gives rise to joy is always tinged with that little bit of fearful uncertainty, that we won't be able to keep it. And eventually, whatever we get, we lose, and eventually we lose our body. So it does, no matter how good it is here, we always in the back of our minds know that it's not perfect, everlasting joy, which we used to have when we were a part of the whole. So that's what gets people started on the spiritual path, is searching for fulfillment, searching for what I've lost, searching for what's missing, searching for God. I mean, even, not everybody thinks of it in those terms. Some people go, they try to find a better job, more money, a new car, better friends, a new relationship, drugs, whatever. They are searching at whatever they are using to try to fill that empty hole, that sense of lack, that sense of unfulfillment. ultimately what they're really searching for, whether they know it or not, is union with God again, becoming one with the absolute again. And then people will often, um, you know, they'll try the new car, they'll try the more money, they'll try, you know, husband number four, and eventually, after trying and failing enough times, some people begin to wake up and realize, well, maybe none of this material stuff is working. So let me try the spiritual path. I'll search for God, and then they begin this. They become a spiritual seeker, searching for what's missing, searching for God, searching for union with God. But the whole time, they're standing in the middle of God with their hands over their eyes. So it's hard to get to where you want to go when you actually are already there. So in terms of, this background that has a window in the sky, and questioning reality and questioning the things that we take, the things that seem the most obvious, that we take the most for granted, like, I know I was born, I know I'm a person. The most fundamental and obvious thing to take to question is, are you really separate from God? Do you really know that? And if God is perfect, all knowing, all loving, all compassionate, omnipresent everywhere, then that means that you are in God right now. And it means that even the sense of imperfection, the sense that things are not the way they should be, the sense that I need to fix things, that I need to get better, that I need to work on myself and travel some kind of path, go through some kind of process so that I can be back with God again someday, even that is a part of the perfection. All there is God, the absolute, what is arising as this, and how every arising as this, including this sense that we are separate from God. That is perfect. And that recognition is the first step to allowing this contracted energy field to relax and begin to expand. This contracted energy field is really a perceptual filter that it's like rose-colored glasses. Only in this case, I guess it would be like dark, foreboding-colored glasses that we put on ourselves to look around and see a world of separation. But if you take off those dark, foreboding sunglasses, that filter, that perceptual filter, and look around you, you see a world of oneness. That everything is the beloved arising as that. This, well, this palm tree is the beloved arising as a palm tree. The vase on the windowsill is the beloved arising as a vase. Um, the computer screen is the beloved arising as a computer screen. You know, I um, I read a long time ago that I quoted to you something from the Course in Miracles that's always stuck with me ever since I read it years and years and years ago. The Son of God is asleep in heaven, dreaming of exile. And the usual interpretation of the Course in Miracles in that particular quote is that the um, the dream is there's something wrong with the dream, and we need to wake up from the dream. That the Son of God is actually in heaven, but he's dreaming that he's here on earth, which the Course calls in exile. And I don't want to get, there's like there are actually two competing interpretations of the Course's, how it thinks of reality. And I don't want to get into that, but I'm bringing this up only because when I read that quote, the Son of God is asleep in heaven, dreaming of exile. That is, we're actually in heaven, but we're dreaming that we're here on earth. So we're actually in heaven where there is eternal life, dreaming that we're on earth where death and impermanence are everywhere. We're in heaven where there is only eternity, no past, present, and future, only the eternal now, dreaming that we're on earth where there's a past that you have to have regret over, and a present where you have to worry about what's going to happen in a future that may never come. So it's as if whatever was good about heaven, we took it and turned it into its opposite and called it earth. And so we're actually asleep in this perfect paradise called heaven, but we're dreaming that we're in this exile called earth. And so the usual reaction to that is to say, well, I would like to wake up and be in heaven again. And that's the way I used to see it. But then one day it occurred to me, where is the Son of God asleep? Where's his bed? He is asleep in heaven, and his dream is in heaven. And whatever is in heaven is supposed to be perfect. So even the dream must be perfect. Even the dream of exile must be perfect. And that's why I was saying earlier that even the sense of incompleteness is a part of the whole. Even the sense of not quite right, the sense of I need to make something happen to get back to how things used to be, is perfection. It's a part of the perfection. But the person will never see that, because the person is the one with its hands over its eyes so that it can't see. The person is the one wearing the instead of rainbow colored rose colored glasses, wearing dark foreboding glasses, so that everywhere it looks it sees dark foreboding things like um, fear, conflict, attack, separation. The person cannot see the inherent perfection of all that is, because its existence requires that it see fear and conflict and separation, the world of 10,000 things. But that which contracted the energy field and entered into duality is always already present, is always already there. And at some point, somehow, we don't know how, we don't know when, we can't even really say that it's something that can happen or could happen or has happened to this person or that person. It just appears that in the same way that a choice was made to find out what it would be like to be separate from God and to thereby create duality and to create a dualistic universe, it seems that from time to time the choice is made, well, I've that was fun, but I think it's time to move on and to leave duality and enter back into oneness and wholeness and completion. And then the sense of separation falls away. And when that is gone and the contracted energy field is gone, then the person is gone. And that's why it's often said, you will never be enlightened, because when enlightenment arises, the person is not there anymore. So, it's kind of ironic. A lot of people begin the spiritual path saying, I need to know if God really exists. And then they find out, um, well, God has a big surprise in store for them. Because God exists, it's the person who began the search that turns out to be an illusion. So it's kind of it helps to provide a perspective to daily living when we can realize that whatever, well, just, to the short form would be the universe is not, things don't happen to you, they happen for you. Pronoia, the universe, instead of being paranoid, thinking things are conspiring against you, be pronoid, thinking that things are conspiring for you. That whatever arises in the moment, as bad as it might appear to be, in actuality is absolutely perfect and could not be otherwise. In order for it to be otherwise, the entire universe would have to be different and changed. And ultimately, the whole point of everything is for us to become one with the beloved again. So everything is conspiring for our ultimate growth and perfection. And when something arises in your life that seems like it's really, difficult to take, to put up with, it seems like, the cliche, we call it a challenge. It's a very challenging situation. 90% of the suffering that challenging situation might create in your life is actually going to be your resistance to it, your reaction against it. Even if you don't do anything outwardly, just the feelings, the sense within your own mind and body of being opposed to this. I cannot accept this. This is unacceptable. That energy of resistance and pushing away and being unacceptable creates 90% of the problems for you in your life, that you blame that unacceptable situation or person or whatever the case might be, that you blame all of it on. Um, I guess it's like, what is it, Tai Chi, the martial art, or Aikido, the martial art where you use your opponent's force against him. You go with the flow. If they throw a blow, if they throw a fist, a punch at you, you don't like try to push the fist back. You just take the fist and pull them even further. If they want to go towards you, you step out of the way and help them go all the way towards you. You help them go forward. You take their motion and help them continue it. So it's like going with you take the force or the flow of their motion and you help them you go with it. So they go even further. So they wind up, on the other side of you on the ground. Um, it's like going with the flow instead of trying to, uh, it's like it's going like this and you just go like that rather than like struggling and pushing against it, because that's what creates the problems in your life. So it's it's like it's just sort of a big picture way of looking at things, a big picture way of adjusting you know your glasses, your sunglasses, so that maybe they aren't so dark and foreboding, a little more rose colored, lightening your energy field. So hopefully, as you go through your day-to-day existence, anytime something arises that seems challenging or threatening, that provokes anxiety or stress or anger, irritation, frustration, be grateful for that, and because it's an opportunity to become consciously aware of how much of that irritation or frustration or anxiety is being contributed by the situation or the person or the thing out there outside of contracted energy field fence, and how much is being contributed by you. And to realize that ultimately you have total control over your contribution, your part of it. And when you realize how much, um, how big your portion of the contribution is, and that you have complete control over it, things begin to seem less difficult. Most of human suffering is self-created, and you always have the choice to stop doing that to yourself. So I don't know if are there any questions, or do you want me to do a meditation, or what are you guys feeling like for tonight? End it now. Do a meditation. Answer questions.
How about a bit of meditation?
Okay. Is that good with everyone? All right. We have a chat box, everybody. Okay. All right. Let's do a minute. Close this. Thank you. All right. Thanks for the suggestion requests. Thank you for coming tonight. So we'll do a meditation. Get comfortable. Your feet flat on the floor, legs uncrossed, back relatively straight. Just be comfortable. Close your eyes. And I like to start off every meditation with 3 deep connected breaths as a way of separating everything that was before from everything after, which will be the meditation. So we'll just take 3 deep inhales and exhales through our nose. And just continue to watch the breath. Place your focus of your attention and your awareness on your breath as it goes in and out. Feel your breath going in and out of your nose. Feel it going up into your nasal passages on the inhale. Feel it coming out of your nose on the exhale. On the inhale, really try to focus your awareness, your attention on how the air feels up inside your nasal passages. And then on the exhale, feel it as it exits. What does it feel like on your upper lip? So you can feel the cold air going into your nose on the inhale, and the warm, soft air hitting your upper lip on the exhale. So really tune into that as we continue our breathing. Breathing in, fill the air high up inside your nose. And on the exhale, feel the breath, the warm breath leaving your nose, and feel it striking your upper lip. Actually, it's more like a soft caress. Inhale and feel the breath deep in your nose. Exhale and feel the breath on your upper lip. And notice that the inhale is inside of you and the exhale is outside of you. So the breath actually unites everything that is inside of you with everything that is outside of you. The breath always and already has healed the separation, straddles the contracted energy field, the fence of separation. You already are not contracted. You already are not separate. When you place your awareness on your breath, your awareness on the inhale is inside, but simultaneously on the exhale is outside. So the breath and the awareness of the breath are no longer in duality. So with each breath, you can allow your awareness to expand. And realize that your awareness does not have to be contracted in on itself, that it can expand to include everything. Notice how your awareness can expand to include the breath on your lip, even though that's not inside your head, which is where we typically keep our awareness. So you're aware of your breath on your lip, and you're aware of your body in your chair, your seat on the cushion, your feet on the floor. You're aware of the sounds in your environment, the feeling of the air blowing across your skin. And you can expand your awareness to include your entire room. Breathing in and out and expanding your awareness to include your entire building. And includes your entire town of wherever you happen to be. Breathing in and out, allowing your awareness to expand until it includes all of St. Croix, all of the US, all of South America, the entire planet. Allow your awareness to include all of Earth. Now it expands and includes our entire solar system, and your awareness expands even further and includes and encompasses the entire Milky Way galaxy. And really, your awareness can expand to include the entire, not only the entire universe, but to include all that is. Because your awareness is all that is. All that is one with your awareness, and your awareness is one with all that is. So as you feel this oneness with all that is, ask yourself, is there really any reason to feel anxious or nervous or stressed out or pessimistic or concerned about how the future might unfold? When you are resting in this primordial awareness, there's a part of you that knows without doubt that you are perfectly safe and complete and whole. This is your true nature when you're not holding your hands over your eyes. This is the natural reality. This is reality, and it's the natural, normal one, the way things are naturally before the ego puts on its dark foreboding glasses or puts its hands over its eyes. So it isn't anything that you have to do to have this reality. It's simply a question of not doing. Stop putting your hands over your eyes. Stop creating your suffering. Stop doing it to yourself. Relax into this. Allow this to be. Remember the story of the prodigal son from the New Testament. The son was not thrown out of his father's kingdom. He chose to leave, taking his inheritance with him. And there was nothing keeping him from returning whenever he wanted. The father simply waited for him to choose to return. So the beloved isn't doing anything to you. The beloved didn't throw you out of heaven. The beloved is simply waiting for us, for you, to choose to go back. But you know the old saying, if you're stuck in a hole, the first order of business is to stop digging. And that concludes our meditation for this evening. Thank you, everyone, for coming. Namaste. And
Namaste. Thank you. Thank you.
thank you. See you guys later. See you next Friday. Thanks for coming. Let me click in.
Thanks.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for doing this, Ray.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Food for thought. Food for thought.
I'm ending it now. End meeting
Okay.
for all. Thank you.